Hey guys, welcome to the Natural Birth Show. I'm Rachel Manns, and today I'm going to talk with Certified Professional Midwife Elyana Verkley about Certified Professional Midwives. Before we get started, just remember none of this is medical advice, and you should always talk to your proper care provider. But here we go. Say hi to Elyana. Let's see. All right. Elyana. Oh, also guys, we're sitting in front of this really awesome coffee place. So if you're in the St. Louis area, you should check it out. Latte Lounge. Oh, it's backwards, but it's good.
It's good coffee here.
So Elyana, tell everyone a little bit more about Certified Professional Midwives.
Sure. So certified professional midwives are trained specifically to do home births. Basically what happened is, decades ago, they decided that it would be much better if midwives were regulated.
Of course. You want to know who decided that? A man.
Of course.
A man.
It's always men who kind of ruin our lives. Anyway, so they made this credential thinking that this would kind of unite midwives across the board and provide a universal standard.
Okay.
Some people are very pro, this standard, and some people are not. Obviously, it's very personal feeling about whether or not you want to be regulated, but whatever your personal feelings are, this is what it is. They've created this regulation and basically designed it so that every single midwife has to meet certain criteria in order to get certified. You have to attend a certain number of births, you have to attend a certain number of classes, or a certain amount of self-study. And then you have to pass the NARM, which is basically like the boards for certified professional midwives. The big difference in, people just think midwives are all the same.
Yes. I mean, I even thought that until like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Because you just hear midwife and you're like, oh, okay, midwives do natural birth and, that's what they do. But there's actually a big variation when it comes to midwives.
Yes.
So, you have kind of as the next step from an OB, you have a CNM, a certified nurse midwife.
So they were nurses first, right?
They were nurses first. They basically went on to get their master's in midwifery. These nurses are pretty much all hospital trained.
Yes.
They work in the hospital. That's where they get certified. That's where they get their births. That's where they get all of their experience. Some of them choose to come and start practicing in a birth center or at home. But for the most part, CNMs tend to stay in the hospital system. It's kind of what they know, and obviously being able to work a shift in a hospital is kind of nice.
Yeah, not be on call constantly. Yeah. And I mean, there is great benefit to having nurse midwives in the hospital. Absolutely. But CPMs, professional midwives, don't work in the hospitals,
exactly.
right?
And that brings into the CPM, which is we're trained for home birth, not hospital.
And all home births are statistically safe for all healthy pregnancies, right?
Absolutely. Okay. So for healthy moms, low-risk babies, vertex babies, single babies, all of these are kind of the criteria that's generally known to be safe at home. Obviously, it's unique. It goes by each woman. So some women are going to be a candidate for home birth for other reasons and not necessarily fit the criteria, and some women are going to fit every single criteria and still not be a good fit for home birth. Yeah, there are lots of other factors that kind of come into it. So what the CPMs do is pretty amazing, because from day one they're working in the home setting. So they're taking all of this knowledge, all of this traditional knowledge, all of the new information, the new medications, and they're kind of incorporating it into a home setting.
And like just the wisdom of our bodies. We're like incorporating wisdom and newer like technologies and things together.
Yep. Midwives tend to, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased. Midwives tend to be the best at blending all this new information with the traditional knowledge and, coming back to trusting women and their bodies.
Yes, and knowing that most of the time you don't need this new information, most of the time, but there is a time and a place.
Exactly. And, something that comes up quite commonly is ultrasounds. It's a very new science.
Yes.
Do we want to use it and utilize it for practice and help make home birth safer? Or would we rather stick to not having ultrasounds at all and keep it very natural, very intuition-based, focusing on the midwifery tools that we gained, hundreds and hundreds of years. So that is also one of those things that's very personal and comes down to the personalized care that you get with a CPM.
Yes.
A CPM isn't going to walk in, or a good CPM is not going to walk in and say, this is what I mandate. You must do these things.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly.
Which often any birth in a hospital, even with a nurse midwife, will sometimes take that one-size-fits-all approach because that's what people in a hospital know.
And that's often policy, too.
Yeah,
so
policy.
Yes. So if you work in a hospital or a birth center or any kind of institution, you're subject to their policies. And often their policies are dictated by their malpractice insurance, by, what insurance will pay for, what insurance will pay for most. Exactly.
Not innate wisdom.
Exactly. Not innate wisdom, not what's best for each individual. It's kind of the bottom line for the hospital or the birth center.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of birth centers are very quick to risk people out, is because it can mess with their malpractice insurance.
Okay. And so CPMs just have this ability to have a little more autonomy with each client, which is amazing. And I just love that. But in the case of a transfer, often a CPM can go with as like a doula, but cannot act. You would be getting a new care provider. So I mean, that in my opinion is like really the only like negative to having a CPM. In general, I think CPMs are absolutely amazing options. I had a CPM. So as a CPM, can you just like tell me some of your favorite moments, or why you became a CPM, or I don't know, give me some like real connecting stuff about your CPM journey.
Yeah. I became a CPM because I believe that birth works. I believe that women know how to conceive a baby, grow a baby, and of course they can then birth that baby.
Women give birth in huts every day.
Exactly. And I think that there's a big piece too. I'm a very protective kind of person, and I like the idea that by doing this I can not only, help babies be born safely, but I can protect women from the biases and policies and often obstetrical abuse that happens.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Which kind of leads into my favorite moments of, really it's not 1 or 2 or 3 or 7. It's a collection of these little pieces. The look on a mom's face when she has her successful home birth,
or like the dad's face when he gets to like help catch.
Yeah, it's the kids when they come and they get to see their sibling born and their faces light up.
I love it when kids are present.
Yeah, it's amazing. It just brings it all back into the family. And for women who have had a hospital birth, who have had a history of obstetric violence, it's heartbreaking, but it happens so much. Like so many women. And they turn to home birth because of a history of trauma, often at the hands of the obstetrical system providers. And it's seeing that shift in them, like from that first prenatal visit when you walk in and they're stressed and they're nervous and they don't know what to expect, and they're worried that you're gonna kind of help carry on that trauma.
And maybe don't even totally trust their bodies yet. They're in this really weird place.
And they've been taught kind of like, oh, you don't know what's going on. Like, you can't be feeling that. Like, that's not a thing.
I hate that.
No, and it's just this whole system that devalues what women are experiencing and speaking and feeling.
Yeah, our instincts, our wisdom is totally not valuable in most obstetrical situations.
Exactly.
There are exceptions.
There are exceptions. You have those kind of what I call gold standard providers who are genuinely looking to give a better experience in the hospital, but they are sadly few and far between. And the rest of them tend to, without even realizing it, like breach informed consent and to practice fear-based medicine.
And you're right, they probably don't realize it. But as a CPM, you're just well more aware of those kinds of things. The training tends to be a little stronger with a CPM training as to like respecting women's instincts, their wisdom. Guys, sorry for the background noise, by the way. I don't know if you can hear that, but hopefully you can hear us okay. But yeah, so just being a CPM just helps you to connect with women better. I think most of the time, especially being in a more comfortable space. And then like you said, you get all of those really intimate moments that don't really happen in a hospital. Like the children being present. That's not allowed in a hospital, especially right now with COVID. But in general, even it's not usually allowed. And children can learn so much from seeing a birth. It is so empowering for them.
Yeah.
And yes, that is a really good term. Generational change. Like, you know, most of us were born to moms, or, you know, even our grandmas were like hospital, hospital, hospital. You do this, twilight sleep, you know, epidural, whatever. And you get to bring about that change as a CPM, that taking it back to the wisdom and the instincts of like, we can trust this process and we can trust your instincts.
Absolutely. And it's very humbling for me, because sometimes you forget, you just kind of get imposter syndrome and you're like, okay, I'm just like a normal person doing normal things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even as a doula, I feel that.
And you get into this situation, and like I said, you see somebody, you start off from this place of trauma, and they grow from realizing that I'm not going to touch them if they don't want me to, and I'm not going to I'm not going to even put a Doppler on them to listen to their baby unless they want me to. I ask before I touch them. And it builds it builds a new kind of trust between them and their care provider, so that when it comes time to give birth, they've kind of blossomed into this new person. And they start to really trust themselves again. And the look on their face, and you often get these people saying like, I did it, like I didn't think I could do it, and I did it.
And then like when they realize how powerful they really are. Man.
Exactly. And it's just the most humbling thing, and I cry at like 1 or 2 births a year. The rest of the time I kind of like can keep it down. But without fail, it's the people who have had hospital trauma who then come to me, have a birth, and like you watch them heal from it.
Yeah. Well, because you attach to them, and so then by attaching to them, you feel that compassion and that empathy for them, and so like you kind of put yourself in their shoes, and then you realize like, oh my gosh, look what you just overcame. Like, that's so amazing. That's so powerful. You're amazing.
Yeah, and it's about so much more than, oh, my baby's finally here. It's about, like, when they're saying I did it, they're saying I trusted myself. They're saying for the first time, I trusted myself that my body could do it.
And what a great way to start off motherhood.
Exactly. Because you
trust
yourself for everything. Every parenting decision, you have to be able to come back not to anyone else, but to yourself, and say, I believe that what I did was right.
Yeah. And as a CPM, you just get that privilege of really seeing it happen.
And it really is a privilege.
It is. I mean, if your birth worker does not think being at your birth is a privilege, then you have the wrong birth worker.
And you need to fire them.
Right. And if you are a birth worker and you don't see it as a privilege, maybe let's do a little more research, or maybe reach out to me and we can chat about how you can start seeing that as a privilege, because it really is. It's such a privilege.
Yeah, somebody is letting you into their intimate space, and they're trusting you with their body, they're trusting you with their health, their baby's health, they're trusting you with information of their past trauma, their health history, and you have to carry that and hold it as sacred to you as they hold it to themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Elyana, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
This video is a little longer than my others, but it's totally worth it, and we're going to leave it that way because I think Elyana gave us so much good information.
Oh, thank you.
If you guys have any questions, comment below or reach out to me on my site, thenaturalbirthsite.com. You can also check out my podcast, The Natural Birth Talk, and I have a podcast where I talk to a certified nurse midwife about midwifery too that kind of goes along with this. Thanks for listening, guys.